Hello Coralie, this is my feedback to your evidence paragraph from last week. Okay, the one about diversity. Now first of all, let me say you wrote this without a model, so obviously this is going to be a very rough, not finished kind of draft, so no problem about that. I just still want to highlight a few things, and hopefully today's small group tutorial was able to clarify some more about what you need to do. But just looking at this, I think you have a good start here. So now obviously here, all of this is going to be your identification paragraph, right? So this goes to the identification paragraph. But what you've done here is quite good. You know, you've identified the supporting idea that basically requirements, specific requirements along racial and gender lines for many job positions just exclude too many groups. So that's the supporting idea. Very good. And then in support, he uses the oracle. He uses other pieces of evidence. But I would, if you end up writing that paragraph, I would say you would include those as well. I mean, he uses websites, he uses other things. But let's just stick with oracle just as an example. Okay, so the evidence seems to be insufficient for two reasons. First of all, is there other investigation or research that this eligibility should be considered illegal? Okay, but why Oracle in that case? I think you're referring to that code that he used, and that's great. I mean, this is a very good point that you're making, but I think you would need to include not just the Oracle email, but also the that code of the legal code that he's citing, right? So put that in there also as part of an evidence. Okay. And second, there may be different types of application for people who represent majorities. I'm not very sure what that means. There may be different types of application. Do you mean types of application? For people who represent majority. Okay, it's not very clear what these different types of application may be. But what you can just say in terms of sufficiency is just one isolated example that he's pulled up, just one email from one company directly targeting a minority to the exclusion of other groups. Well, how about meta-analysis, surveys, studies, more data to show that, let's say, I don't know, 50% or 70 or 90% of internships directly exclude groups and target minorities. How about that kind of concrete data? Just one piece of evidence is not enough. That's what you could say in the sufficiency part of your paragraph. You could say the author could have included more of this, more of that. Okay. All right. This shows the application does not mean hiring only. Now here I'm kind of lost here. Just this whole thing, I'm not very sure what your idea is here, that there may be different types of application who represent majorities, and then are you saying that there might be another job advertisements again from Oracle saying attracting majorities? That's probably what you're trying to say here. But that would be too speculative. I think in this case you can just say the author needs to have included this and that, right? One isolated piece of evidence is simply not sufficient to prove such a general point. Because the point is, it's about a systemic bias all across the United States in a lot of diversity programs. So it's a very big point about a lot of diversity programs. So you can't just include one example, right? When it comes to relevance, by this evidence, the speaker trying to show favorable conditions for minorities. So I think it is, yeah, okay, fine, I'll take that. you could find a way in which it is not relevant, but usually that's kind of tough and you have to dig very deep. But I will accept that. For our purposes, that's fine. You could say, okay, it's relevant because it clearly shows an internship clearly targeting a minority. Okay, fine. However, in my opinion, it is not representative because it is a screenshot from an email. Now here, the fact that it's a screenshot does not affect whether it's representative or not. Representative, think about it as, is that a typical example of internships in general? Does this represent the average internship advertisement? Is the average sorry, my computer. Is the average advertisement for an internship so discriminatory as the one as this email is? So that's basically representative. Think about how typical this is. That should be basically your guiding principle. How typical is this example, right? Is it representative of all internships all across America, of your typical average internship? That would be the question, and it's not very clear that it is. So yes, I agree that it's not representative. Okay, but the fact that it's a screenshot, that does not make it representative or not representative. I mean, that's all he has at his disposal. He's making a video, so it's a screenshot. That's not a problem in itself. Plus, you could always look up the evidence, right? And in fact, in the exam, if there is a direct reference to an article or a newspaper or whatever article or any type of other evidence that can be traced, then you should actually go and trace it. But I think you're in very good shape. I like your thinking here. You're very good in the debates as well, so I know here you will do well. Just be very clear on what representative is, okay? And as far as sufficiency, you started going very deep here. I'm not exactly sure what's going on, what your idea is here. But overall, very good as a start. And I know next week there will be another model coming up. If you want to, you can refer to the model for this video. And I made it like it's a very detailed model with examples, with all kinds of things. And there is another one coming up for next week of the video we discussed in this week's small group tutorial. So I think this time next week things will be even clearer. Okay, so we're getting there. Good work, Korlai.